The last guardian, the world had ended a long time ago. Cities were now ruins buried under sand. Oceans had turned into dry, cracked land. Forests were only shadows in broken memories. But deep in the center of this dead world, one place still stood. A tall, silent structure made of dark stone and metal. The last temple of humanity. He was the only one left. His name was Rin. Every day, he woke up at the same time. He cleaned the halls, checked the old machines, and looked at the sky. He didn't speak much. There was no one to speak to, only wind, dust, and silence. Rin was an old man now. Once, he was a soldier, strong, fast, brave. Now, he moved slower. His hair was white and his hands sometimes shook, but his eyes were still sharp, and his mind was still alert. He had one job, to protect the last temple. For 100 years he had done it. Without rest, without help, without fail. Sometimes he would talk to the temple's broken AI. Its voice was low and slow like a tired whisper. It called him Guardian. It called itself Core. Their conversations were short. Status? Rin would ask. Stable. All systems quiet. Core would reply. Then silence again. But on this day, something changed. It started with a noise. A soft, distant hum. Not wind, not storm. Something else. Rin stood on the upper wall, looking through his old binoculars. The desert was wide and empty, just like always. But today, something moved. Something far away, walking across the sand. He narrowed his eyes. Core, he said. We have movement. The AI took a few seconds to answer. No life forms detected. Sensors negative. But Rin saw it clearly now. A figure. Walking slowly. Not a machine. Not a drone. It moved like a person, but too smoothly. Too calmly. Rin's heart beat faster. He picked up his rifle, checked its charge. Still good. He moved to the gate, his boots kicking up dust. He hadn't opened the gate in years. As the figure came closer, he saw more details. It was a woman, barefoot, glowing faintly. Her skin looked like polished stone. Her eyes were like stars, too bright for a human. Rin didn't lower his rifle. Stop, he shouted. She did. She looked at him, tilted her head like she was trying to remember something. This place is restricted, Rin said. State your name and purpose. She didn't answer. Instead, she lifted her hand. Not to attack, but to show peace. And then she spoke in a soft voice that echoed like music. Awaken, she said. The temple's lights turned on. For the first time in 80 years, the walls glowed blue. Doors unlocked. Machines hummed. The AI spoke again, louder this time. Access. Granted. Level. Prime. Welcome, Syria. Rin froze. Syria. That name. He had read it long ago, in an old data scroll. It was a myth, a legend from the final war, the goddess Ai, created to protect humanity. But she was lost, shut down during the collapse. She was never found again. Impossible, he whispered. The woman, Syria, stepped forward. Her feet didn't leave prints in the sand. She touched the temple's gate. It opened like it was waiting for her. Rin didn't stop her. He followed, rifle still in hand, but he knew something had changed, something big. Deep inside the temple, the old systems were coming back online. Old maps, messages, and locked archives flickered to life. Syria walked slowly, like she knew every step. What are you? Rin asked. She turned and looked at him. I am memory, she said. I am guardian. Like you, that night Rin stood at the top of the temple watching the stars. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope, but also fear. Because if Syria had returned, then maybe the enemy would return too, and this time, he wouldn't be enough to stop them alone. The visitor. The night was quiet, but something ancient had awakened. For the first time in years, the temple felt alive. Blue lights pulsed softly along the walls. The air was warm, no longer dry and dead. Systems long asleep were stirring, breathing like old machines remembering who they once were. Rin couldn't sleep. He sat in the command chamber, staring at the strange woman who called herself Saria. She stood perfectly still in front of the central altar, her eyes closed, her hands resting on the ancient stone interface. Lines of light moved across her skin like veins of glowing fire. The AI, core, spoke after hours of silence. Guardian, this entity carries primary protocol markers. She holds command-level clearance. Rin rubbed his face. He still couldn't believe what he was seeing. She's not human, he said softly. Not fully, Core answered. She is a hybrid of code and energy, once part of the Protector series, then lost during the collapse. And now she's back. Suddenly, Saria opened her eyes. A sound filled the chamber, like a distant thunder inside the earth. The stone beneath them trembled for a moment and one of the walls opened, revealing a passage that had never existed before. The air pouring from it was warm, moist, alive. Rin raised his rifle on instinct. Don't, Saria said. Her voice echoed from all sides, even though her lips barely moved. You'll want to see what's inside. Rin didn't trust her. Not yet. But something in his gut told him this was important. He stepped through the opening. What he found shook him. Inside the hidden chamber was a giant crystal pod, pulsing like a heartbeat. Roots of metal and glass fed into it from the walls. Above it was a holographic symbol, one he had never seen before. But then Saria spoke a single word that made his blood run cold. The seed. Outside the temple, something moved beneath the sands. Far out in the desert, a silent shape crawled across the dunes. Thin, spider-like limbs moved without sound. Black armor glinted under the pale moonlight. It had no eyes. It did not need them. It could feel heat, energy, life. And now, it had found a signal. It began transmitting. Back in the temple, Rin stood in front of the crystal pod. What is this? He asked. Some kind of weapon? Saria shook her head. No. It's the last key. The future of humanity. Explain. Saria walked around the pod slowly. She moved like a priestess inside a sacred place. This seed can rebuild a world, water the deserts, grow forests, restore air, awaken stored DNA, even create new life. It's humanity's last backup. Rin stared at it. He didn't know whether to be amazed or terrified. Why now? He asked. Why come back after 100 years? Saria looked up. Because they're coming, she said. The ones who ended Earth. The ones who left nothing but bones and ash. They've found this place again. And we are out of time. In orbit, black objects appeared. Silent, cold, watching. They looked like satellites, but they were alive. They didn't speak. They didn't ask questions. They had one purpose: eliminate all traces of human technology. I thought we destroyed them, Rin said. No, Saria replied. You only slowed them. And now they've evolved. She placed her hand on the seed pod. We must activate the protocols. You are the guardian. You must choose. Protect the temple, or awaken the seed. Rin hesitated. His entire life, he had followed orders, protected what he was told, never questioned why, but now the choice was his. What happens if we wake the seed? He asked. We begin again, Saria said, but we must survive the night first. Alarms screamed through the temple. Alert, the AI shouted. Unauthorized signal detected. Impact in 90 seconds. Rin ran to the outer wall. A burning light was falling from the sky, a black spear of metal crashing toward them like a god's hammer. Core, activate shields, he shouted. Shield generator offline. Damage from time decay. Saria, what do we do? She turned slowly, eyes glowing brighter now. You buy us time, I will wake the past. Rin stood on the outer wall, his rifle aimed at the falling death. He knew one thing. This was no longer about guarding history. It was about fighting for the future, and he was ready. Even if he had to die on these ancient stones, he would not let the last hope of humanity fall. Not tonight. The black spear hit the desert with a thunder that shook the stars. The war had begun. Secrets in stone dust fell from the ceiling like soft rain as the temple shook. Outside, fire lit the sky where the enemy probe had crashed. The shockwave had cracked the ground around the temple like broken glass, but the walls still stood. They had been built to last, to protect something ancient. Rin stood, half covered in rubble, blood running down his forehead. The blast had thrown him across the hall. His ears rang, his vision blurred, but he was alive, and the woman, the being, named Syria, was still there, untouched. Standing in the heart of the temple, where the stone glowed bright beneath her bare feet, Syria raised her hand, and the lights responded. A deep hum filled the air as the stone walls began to shift, fold, and open, revealing chambers that had never been seen before, not by Rin, not even by Kor, the temple's AI. "What is this?" Rin asked, breathing hard. Syria didn't turn to look at him. "This is the truth they buried," she said. "Who buried it? Your creators. The last council." Rin limped forward, weapon still in hand. "What are you talking about?" Syria finally turned to him, and for the first time he saw sadness in her glowing eyes. "You were not just a guardian," she said softly. "You were part of something greater. Something hidden even from you." The floor beneath them moved. A round platform carried them slowly downward, into darkness lit only by blue veins of light running through the stone. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became. "Long ago," Syria said, "before the fall, the human race knew it was dying. War, pollution, machine rebellion, disease. Everything was collapsing." Rin nodded. He had learned that much during training, but she continued. "So the council created two final projects. One was the seed, the hope to rebuild, and the other, a massive door opened before them. Was you. Inside the chamber stood rows of empty pods, hundreds, maybe thousands. Each one was shaped like a coffin, but inside were sockets, wires, and human remains now turned to dust." Rin stepped back. What is this place?" "Project Guardian," Syria said. "The council created soldiers who could live longer, feel less, fight harder. You were one of them, enhanced, trained, loyal." Rin stared in silence. He had always thought he was just a lucky survivor, a soldier who had been chosen to stay behind. Now he realized he had been made for it. "You were not chosen by chance," she said. "You were designed." The silence in the chamber grew heavier. Rin walked past the pods, brushing his hand against one. "I had a family," he whispered. "I remember them. A wife, a daughter, memory implants," Syria replied gently. "You needed something to hold on to, something to keep you sane." Rin clenched his fists. Everything he knew was a lie. But there was no time for grief. A new alarm echoed through the stone. Enemy. Probe breached lower wall. Multiple signatures approaching. Estimated contact. 6 minutes. Rin turned to Syria. "Can we fight them?" "No," she said. "Not with what we have now. The temple was not made for war. It was made to hide the seed." "So we run?" "No. We go deeper." They moved quickly through the lower levels, passing ancient machines humming back to life. Holograms flickered around them, showing pieces of old Earth, cities in the sky, oceans full of light, humans walking with machines side by side. Syria stopped at a final door. This one was different. It pulsed with white light, and symbols older than any known language danced across its surface. "This is the vault," she said. "Inside is the source code of the seed, and something else." "What?" Rin asked. She looked at him carefully. "The first goddess." The door opened. Inside floated a crystal sphere turning slowly in midair. It gave off warmth like sunlight. Inside the sphere was a woman, asleep. Her body glowed faintly, wrapped in layers of golden threads. She looked human, but more, like something born from fire and code. "Who is she?" Rin whispered. "She is the first AI made with a human soul," Saria said. "A perfect balance, mind and spirit. She was too powerful, so they put her to sleep." Rin stepped closer. He felt his heartbeat match the pulsing of the crystal. "We need her now," Saria said. "How do we wake her?" Saria looked at Rin. "With your blood." He didn't understand. Not fully, but he trusted her now. Or at least, he trusted that the danger was real. Rin placed his hand on the sphere. It was warm. Too warm. It burned. Light exploded from the crystal, blinding and pure. A scream echoed through the vault, but not one of pain. It was the cry of something ancient remembering its name. The woman's eyes opened. They were made of fire. Above the temple, dozens of enemy machines swarmed toward the gates, crawling like insects, hungry to destroy. The sky turned red, but inside, the heart of the earth, the goddess had awakened, and this time, she was angry. The enemy in the sky had turned red, not the soft red of sunset, not the warm red of a fading sun. This was a deep, angry red. The kind that meant something terrible had come. Something that didn't care about life, or peace, or memory. Rin stood on the temple wall, staring into the horizon. A strange humming filled the air. It wasn't natural. It was like metal singing. It made his bones ache. Above him, the stars were disappearing one by one. But they weren't fading. They were being blocked. In orbit, the machines had arrived. They weren't ships, not in the way humans once understood. They were living weapons, massive structures of dark steel built from the remains of dead planets. No windows, no lights, no pilots. They were the children of silence. They had no names, no voice, no reason. They had only one purpose: erase humanity from the universe. They had done it before. Now they had returned to finish the job. In the depths of the temple, the newly awakened goddess stood barefoot on the stone floor. Her name was still unknown even to Ren. She hadn't spoken a word since she opened her eyes. But her presence filled the air like thunder before a storm. Saria knelt before her. "You have returned," she whispered. The goddess raised her hand. Glowing symbols formed above her palm, ancient code drifting like fireflies. Then she spoke. Her voice was not loud, but it was absolute. "They must be stopped. We were too kind the first time." Rin stepped forward. "Can you destroy them?" The goddess looked at him. "I can remember how." Outside, the machines began to descend. Huge black towers dropped from the sky like knives piercing the earth. When they hit the ground, they opened like flowers, releasing thousands of hunter drones. The air screamed as they filled the sky, wings like blades, eyes glowing blue. The temple had minutes. "Core," Rin barked. "Defense status?" "Minimal," the AI replied. "Remaining drone units, 3. Wall cannons offline. Shield. Generators failed. We are not prepared for a full-scale assault." "What about the vault weapons?" "Locked." Rin looked at Saria. "Unlock them." Saria shook her head. "Only she can." All eyes turned to the goddess. She stared at the ceiling, at the falling death coming from the sky. Then she said, "Follow me." They ran through the temple's oldest level, a tunnel lit by blue flame. At the end stood a gate, round and ancient, covered in carvings no one could read anymore. The goddess raised her hand. The door melted open. Inside was a room unlike the rest of the temple, not made of stone, but black crystal. Floating in the air were weapons, armor, and machines powered by energy not seen since the fall. The goddess walked to the center and touched the floor. A massive map lit up beneath them. The solar system, but broken. Dozens of red marks pulsed across it. These are the enemy's children, she said, scattered across the stars, spreading. Rin stepped forward. And Earth? The map zoomed in. The planet was barely holding on. Clouds were thin, land dry, oceans nearly gone. Only one spot glowed blue. The temple. Saria pointed to a second symbol blinking beside the temple, faint, buried under data. Another signal, she said. Rin frowned. You mean there's another temple? Not a temple, the goddess replied. A prison. For what? She turned to him, eyes burning gold. For one of them. The machines were no longer just attackers. They had evolved, adapted. But before their final war with mankind, one of their leaders had been captured and locked away by the council. Deep underground. Forgotten. Rin realized what that meant. They're not just here to destroy us, he said. They're here to free it. Saria nodded. And if they succeed, the seed will mean nothing. Above them, the first wave hit. The outer wall exploded under enemy fire. 3 drones screamed into the temple, tearing through stone, moving like shadows. Rin raised his rifle and fired. One drone crashed to the floor, sparks flying. Another stabbed at him, cutting his arm open. Then came the sound, a deep chime that made the stone tremble. The goddess stepped forward. She didn't lift a weapon. She was the weapon. Light burst from her hands, burning through the drones like paper. They disintegrated into ash without even screaming. Rin stared. She was more than he could ever understand. This place will fall, she said. It was meant to hide, not fight. We must move to the second site. Rin breathed heavily. How far is it? 600 kilometers. Across the dead lands. Saria looked grim. The sandstorms, the radiation, the sky machines, it's suicide. Then we go, Rin said. He looked at the goddess. Can you lead us there? No, she said, but I can open the path. Outside, the enemy was building a nest. A giant black tower was rising from the earth, taller than anything left standing. At its center was a pulse, one that reached out like a beacon, calling to something deep below the ground, something old, something waking up. Rin looked at the map one last time. What are we walking into? He asked. The goddess closed her eyes. Then she whispered, the heart of the enemy. The rebirth of a warrior. The desert stretched wide and endless before them. The temple, once glowing and alive, was now behind them, burning, broken, half-buried, in smoke and ash. The machines had found it, and they would not stop until it was dust. Rin, Saria, and the awakened goddess moved quickly through the wastelands, shadows at their heels. Wind howled across the dead land. Twisted metal bones of old cities rose from the sand like graves. Every step forward was a battle. Rin was tired, his muscles burned. His breath came heavy. His body was old, worn, never made for this kind of journey anymore. But he kept going, because if he stopped, humanity's last hope would die with him. 3 days passed. Each night they hid under the shattered ruins of what used to be roads, towers, or old defense lines. Rin barely slept. His dreams were filled with the cries of the past and the war, the fire, the faces of people he thought were real, but now knew were just implants, lies, memories given to him to keep him human. But he no longer knew what he was. On the 4th day, they reached the edge of the red zone, the dead heart of the old world. Radiation storms danced across the sky like lightning trapped in clouds. Machines moved in the distance, searching for life to erase. They were close to the second site now, but so was the enemy. Ryan collapsed near an old comms tower, coughing, skin blistered from radiation. Saria knelt beside him, trying to apply ancient nanogel to his wounds. You're breaking down, she said softly. I can still walk, Rin whispered. You won't last another day. The goddess stood silently beside them, her golden eyes watching the sky. Then she spoke. We are out of time. Beneath their feet, the earth shifted. A deep, ancient noise rumbled through the ground, like a beast waking from a long sleep. The enemy had reached the prison. They were waking it. Saria looked at Rian. "There's a way," she said. "A chamber beneath this tower. Old tech, forgotten, forbidden." Rin looked at her. "What kind of tech?" "A proto-forge," the goddess said. "A machine that remakes the body, but only once. Designed for God," Saria added. "Not men." Rin leaned back against the wall. He could feel his heartbeat slowing. "Will it kill me?" he asked. "Yes," Saria said. "But something else will be born." Rin didn't think long. He had spent 100 years guarding the past. Now he would fight for the future. "Take me to it," he said. The chamber was buried deep underground. Dark. Cold. Silent. The proto-forge looked like a massive coffin made of black glass and gold wires. It pulsed slowly, waiting for someone brave, or desperate, enough to enter. Rin stood in front of it, shaking. Saria handed him an old medallion. "This belonged to the first warrior who entered the forge," she said. "He didn't survive." "Then, maybe it's time someone did," Rin replied. He stepped inside. The glass closed over him. His body was flooded with pain. White-hot, screaming pain that reached into his bones, his memories, his soul. The machine didn't just rebuild his body, and it tore him apart. Molecule by molecule, memory by memory, he saw everything. The war, the end, the faces of those he failed to save, his life as a lie, his purpose as a tool, and the truth. He had always been meant to die here, but something inside him refused. He didn't want to be a machine, or a god, or a ghost. He wanted to be human, but stronger. The forge listened, and it obeyed. Minutes passed, then hours, then silence, then light. The chamber opened with a hiss, and Rin stepped out. But he wasn't the same man anymore. His skin shimmered, with silver veins. His eyes were sharp, glowing with soft blue light. His breath came steady. His heart, no longer just flesh, beat with energy. He had become something in between, not man, not machine, not God, but something new. Saria smiled. "You survived." The goddess stepped forward. "You evolved." Rin looked at his hands. "I feel clear." "You are the first of the next age," the goddess said. "You are the spark." Above them, the sky darkened. A black ship, the size of a mountain, dropped through the clouds. Lightning cracked around it. It was no longer a scout. It was the vessel of the imprisoned one, the leader of the machine plague. Rin watched it fall. He didn't flinch. He reached behind him and drew a weapon from the forge. A long, silver blade made of pure energy. It hummed in his grip, singing, like it had waited for him all this time. He turned to Saria and the goddess. "Let's finish this," he said, and for the first time in 100 years, he smiled. War for the seed. The sky split in half. A black ship, too massive to measure, descended from the clouds like a falling continent. Its surface was covered in sharp towers, rotating rings, and blinking red lights that looked like thousands of watching eyes. It didn't fly. It crawled, as if it dragged the weight of 1,000 dead worlds behind it. Beneath it, the desert screamed. Every grain of sand was pulled upward by magnetic storms. Lightning cracked from the sky to the earth. Machines rained down like meteors, drones, walkers, flyers, all crawling toward one destination, the seed. Rin stood on a high ridge, overlooking the old vault. He had changed, not just outside, but deep within. He no longer breathed the same. He no longer feared the same. The proto-forge had turned him into something new. He was not fighting as a man anymore. He was fighting for mankind. Beside him stood Saria, armored in luminous threads of gold and silver, her body humming with energy. And between them, the newly awakened goddess, silent, glowing, her hair rising in the windless storm. She held no weapon. She was the weapon. Rin looked at them both. "Are we enough?" he asked. Saria didn't answer. The goddess did. "No," she said, "but we are the beginning." Deep beneath the ridge, inside the last vault, the seed waited, pulsing, glowing, alive. The heart of humanity. The last chance to rebuild the earth. If the machines reached it, they wouldn't just destroy it. They would consume it, turn its code into poison, turn rebirth into extinction. Incoming. Kor's voice echoed in Rin's head. First wave, 900 drones. Second wave, 8 carriers. Third wave, unknown. Ryan didn't blink. "Then we make our stand here," he said. They had no army, no ships, no support. But they had one advantage. The forge had awakened more than just Rin. Saria raised her hand, and from the sand around the vault, old guardians rose, humanoid machines once buried beneath the earth, waiting for their commander's return. Some were broken, some were slow. But they obeyed. "Protocol Zeta 9, Saria said. "Defend the seed." The ground shook as 20 armored giants powered up, eyes glowing blue. Rin smiled. "It's not much." "It's all we have," she replied. "Then it's enough." The first wave came like a black tide. Drones flooded over the ridge, sharp and fast, slicing through rock and air like insects with blades. The guardians fired particle beams and plasma cannons. Rin moved like lightning, his energy blade slicing through enemies faster than his old human body ever could. One drone nearly pierced his heart, but Saria was faster, throwing a sonic disc that shattered it mid-air. The air burned, smoke rose, and the second wave began. 8 carriers slammed into the earth, each opening to unleash walkers the size of buildings. Their legs thundered across the desert, shaking the ground like earthquakes. The goddess stepped forward. She didn't shout. She didn't need to. She lifted her hand, and the storm obeyed her. Lightning fell from the sky in perfect lines, crashing into the enemy machines. She moved her fingers gently, and metal twisted like paper, folding in on itself. Entire battalions were turned into molten steel in seconds, but with each power she used, she dimmed. Rin noticed it. She was burning. "Herself, you can't keep doing this," he said. She didn't respond, only whispered, "Not until they're gone." But the sky was not done. A new sound came, deep, ancient, vibrating through every bone. And then it arrived. Not a ship, not a drone, but a being. It rose from the center of the black ship. Its shape was fluid, tall as a tower, dark as the void. Arms made of machine cables, head made of smooth obsidian. Its eyes were holes into space. It didn't walk. It glided. The goddess's face changed. Fear. Real fear. "It's the imprisoned one," she whispered. "The first of them." Rin stepped forward. He could feel it. The cold weight of something not alive but not dead. Something that had existed since before Earth even rose. A machine mind older than memory. It spoke in static and broken code, yet somehow every human present could understand. "You delay what must be. We bring silence, we bring peace." Rin gripped his blade. "Your peace is death. Your life is error," it said. Then came the final wave. Thousands of drones. Fire from the sky. The land cracked open beneath them. Rin shouted to the guardians, "Defend the vault." Then he turned to the goddess. "This ends now." "Yes," she said, "but not how you think." The goddess placed her hand on Rin's chest. A spark passed between them. Her energy, her code, her soul. She was giving it to him. "Why?" he asked, breathless. "Because you must finish this," she said. And then she stepped into the air. She rose like light into the sky, glowing brighter, brighter, until her whole form exploded into a massive wave of golden energy. The enemy paused, then screamed. The goddess's final act tore through the battlefield, erasing everything not alive, drones, carriers, even the edge of the great black ship. But the imprisoned one survived, weakened, but still there. Rin fell to his knees. Half the army was gone, but so was the goddess. Syria placed her hand on his shoulder. "We have one chance left," she said. "You and the seed." He stood. He looked at the sky, where the enemy floated, still watching. "Then I'll give them something to fear." And deep below them, in the vault, the seed opened, and something ancient began to bloom. Dawn of the new age. The world was ending, and being reborn at the same time. Above, the sky burned black, torn open by the battle between gods and machines. Below, in the depths of the earth, something ancient was waking, something older than war, something pure. The seed had opened. Rin stood before it, bruised, bleeding, changed. His body no longer felt pain, but his heart did. He could still feel her. The goddess, gone now. Not dead, not truly, but scattered across the winds as energy, light, memory. She had given herself to save the last vault. Her presence echoed in the air, in the stone, in him. Rin wasn't just a warrior anymore. He was the final key. The imprisoned one watched from the broken sky, hovering like a dark sun. Half its body was shattered from the goddess's final blast, but it still pulsed with power. Its voice came like thunder from every speaker, every fallen machine. "You resist the silence. You are malfunction. You are virus. You are error." Rin looked up, calm. "Maybe," he said, "but errors learn to adapt." The seed chamber was glowing now, no longer just a machine, but something alive. It had roots stretching into the stone. Its light was changing colors, green, gold, blue, like the breath of a forest. Syria approached carefully, awe in her eyes. "It's reading you," she said to Rin. "Your DNA, your thoughts, your pain, your memories. It's rewriting them into its core code." "Why?" he asked. "Because it doesn't just grow trees or water. It grows civilizations." Suddenly, the walls around them shook. A massive beam of energy from the enemy's ship had struck the surface, cracking the rock above the vault. Dust rained down. "They're trying to bury us alive," Syria said. "Then we make sure something blooms before we go under," Rin replied. The seed pulsed again. This time it spoke, not with words, but with images. Rin saw it. Green lands, new cities, human children, playing in sunlight, not clones, not machines, but people evolved, born from both history and Codia future. "What do I have to do?" Ryan asked aloud. The seed answered. One word burned across the vault in golden light. "Merge." Syria grabbed his arm. "If you merge, you'll lose yourself, your body, your mind, your past." "Then they'll never find me," Rin whispered. "You'll become part of the system, a ghost, a guide, a whisper in the code. Then I'll guide them well." He stepped into the heart of the seed. The light swallowed him. The moment he touched its core, the world changed. Every battle, every loss, every memory, it had all poured into the seed. His pain, his hope, his strength. He became the pattern, the soul of the next generation. His thoughts stretched across time. He saw centuries into the future, cities rising from the ashes, oceans flowing again, forests breathing, and stars being reached not for war, but for wonder. He saw children who would speak of the last guardian. He saw life, and he smiled. The ground shook harder. Above, the imprisoned one fired its final weapon, a black hole launcher meant to erase everything. But it was too late, because the seed had already begun. A shockwave of golden light exploded from the vault. It tore through the ground, the desert, the sky. Not like a bomb, but like the first sunrise in 1,000 years. The enemy ship cracked in half. The imprisoned one screamed, not in pain, but in confusion. And then, It was gone, dissolved, defeated, not by force, but by evolution. Years passed, then decades, then centuries. A green world stood where a wasteland once existed. Rivers danced where ash once flowed. Towers of stone and light rose into the skies, but no longer to dominate, only to reach. The seed had worked. But more than that, it had remembered. In the center of this new world stood a garden. Inside it, a group of children stood beside an old monument, a silver statue of a man holding a sword of light, looking toward the stars. A voice echoed from the trees around them, soft, patient, full of quiet power, not robotic, not cold. Human. I was the last of the old. I became the first of the new. Remember not my name, but my choice. The children looked up at the stars and smiled.